Because the next thing is eye contact. Maria's laughing. Why is Maria laughing? Because I always tell her, open your eyes. I can't see them. And if you can't see people's eyes, you can't communicate. When we sat around the campfire 1,000,000 years ago and told stories to each other, we connect with each other when we look into each other's eyes. Also, we talked about understanding language and how much we lip read, right? If you're listening to someone that you're not looking at, how difficult it is to follow along with what they're actually saying. Have you tried to do that? Specifically, if you're like at a cafe or at a party where there's other people around talking, and you have someone right next to you that is talking, if you're not looking at them, it can be surprisingly difficult to hear what they say. As soon as you look at them, you're looking at their eyes, but what you're subconsciously doing is you're reading their lips to help you understand what they're saying. But that doesn't really work if you won't look at the audience. So if you're, as a speaker, are constantly kind of walking around up here and talking and kind of being everywhere else instead of, and never daring to stand still and look them in the eye, one after another, they're going to have a hard time just understanding, just text-wise, English, what you're saying. So eye contact is really important. The next part to that is understanding. There are times when we are comfortable with looking someone in the eye, and there are times when we are not. We have to respect that again, because we have to correspond like human beings. That means when we're conveying information to someone, we're fine with looking in the eyes and saying, Asit, let me tell you something. It's important, and I want you to pay attention. Then it makes sense. We look in the eye because I'm directly conveying a message to another person. If we talk about something that is either emotionally difficult for us to talk about, emotionally uncomfortable, or we're thinking about what we want to say, or we are reliving a memory, then we don't look people in the eye. If Abdul asked me a question and he said, how did it feel the first time you went on stage? Then either I go, whew, man, or I go, let me think. That was hard. Do you see when I reconnected with his eyes? I reconnected when I told him the message, when I told him the information. As long as I was either thinking or reliving the emotion, I don't look in his eyes. Because if I go, let me think. That's weird. And it's really uncomfortable for him, especially if I come a little bit close, if we're sitting across the table. And I'm with Maria, and I go, let me think. Just one second. I just need to remember. It's intimidating. It's super uncomfortable. For her, she would go like, he is a creep. Let me get out of here as soon as freaking possible. You're borderline serial killer. It's super strange. So, eye contact is something that you have to know how it works on a psychological level. Meaning that when we're thinking, we don't look people in the eye. When we're feeling, we don't look people in the eye. If we're in an uncomfortable, awkward place, we don't look people in the eye. We only look people in the eye when we're actually talking to someone or conveying a precise message, or we simply want attention. If I'm talking and I have a feeling like someone over there is not listening, then what I can do is I can stop. And then I can go on. Did you see it? I saw him not paying attention. Well, for a good reason. He was taking notes. It was fine. But I saw him not paying attention. So what I did was just stop and look at him. For you, it's going to look like I'm in the middle of a thought about where am I going with this, but I'm actually just making sure that I reconnect with him and getting him back on board, and then I continue. To you, it's not going to look like I died or suddenly just lost energy. It's going to look like, to you, it looks like I'm thinking about something, right? So in some sense, it makes sense to you, but it also makes sense to me because I'm doing something else strategically. I'm just making sure that he pays attention as well. So eye contact you can use both to serve the message of making what you're talking about understandable, but you can also use it strategically to make sure that they're paying attention. Every time I go on stage and I speak, I very deliberately make sure that I have looked at everyone at some point, because it helps me to check if everyone is listening to me. If I'm not sure that they're listening to me, then the chance is they're probably not. Because if you don't check your audience and check if your audience is with you, there's a good chance they're not. If you're in a big theater and the whole place is pitch black and there's only lights upstage, here it's a different thing. You're not supposed to pay attention. But as a speaker, you are supposed to pay attention to whether your audience is with you. Does that make sense? And it requires a little bit of guts. I know that. If you're struggling with stage fright and just thinking being up here in the first place is pretty intimidating and pretty scary, then it takes some courage to stop and just look at your audience and see, hey, how you doing? You know, it does require a minimum level of comfortability as a speaker to be able to do that. I just want you to know it's there. And if you can do it, it will always work for you. Also because it creates this calm, that I'm not just ranting on and trying to just, come on, stay with me, fucking stay with me. You know, but I sometimes just stop and just, are you with me? Are you okay? All right, then we'll go on. It creates this kind of, he's pretty cool. Question?
So it's okay to stop?
Yes.
And look, because I think I get a bit confused, like multitasking, trying to remember and talk at the same time.
Right, right. And if you're at that point where you still have a lot of energy going on in your head, trying to just remember everything that you were supposed to do, you're not stage ready in the first place. I'm sorry I have to say. Because then you got too many unresolved issues roaming around in your head that will still make you unclear and unprecise from the audience being able to just absorb everything and take it in. Yeah? When all of that you're doing is just embedded, so it feels like it's just in your DNA, then you can go up there and everything will happen for you. And you will, sometimes I have this kind of, I want to say extraterrestrial, but that's not the word, but kind of out-of-body experience. Like I'm up here, and the speech, what I'm doing, is kind of just happening for me. And I can walk around and just observe the whole thing and look at the audience looking at this thing, doing this and this coming out. And it's a really strange experience, but it's quite incredible because you can actually enjoy what you're doing, because it's almost like you're in the audience watching it and hearing it with them and just going, oh, that worked well. That was quite cool. They really connected with that bit. That was nice. You had a question first.
Yes. How do you map the audience with regards to how you move around your eye contact?
How do you map the audience? Sporadically, meaning if you're standing in the middle and you're not moving, then from one side to another side, in the middle, down. So you make as big leaps as possible. You know Barack Obama? Not do you know Barack Obama. I know you know who Barack Obama is. But you remember his speeches. He had one very significant Obama trademark to how he talks. I'll give you a clue, it's his head.
The Obama time.
He looks from side to side with a very wide angle. Have you noticed it? So, what this thing is going to be about is, if we're going to resolve this, then we need to stay together. We need to stay together, be a republic and a democracy. Red versus blue, everyone together. He actually never almost looks straight out. He looks over there and he looks over there. Because what he does is he widens the perception of how big the crowd is that he's talking to. And he makes it look like he's encompassing everyone, because going from over here, he has bridged everyone in the middle. And you do the same thing with eye contact if you look into the audience. If you're standing still and you want to look around, then do it from one side over to the other side, up and down. So you're not going from there to there, to there, to there, to there, because then it looks transparent. Then it looks like I'm going through a grid, like it's an algorithm in my head. Microsoft just installed my eye contact program for public speaking. And if you move, then you do it in diagonals, because if you move over here and I talk to Joshua, then suddenly all the energy is over here, and Asit is left out of the conversation over on the other side. So if I do eye contact from one side of the stage, I go eye contact to Asit, because then I bridge everyone in the middle, and vice versa. And then I could go into the middle, and then I can go over here, and then I can go back to Asit, or I could go up to Emil, and then, or to Joshua and Emil, and then Asit is still in there, and everyone in the middle. Yeah?
Any benchmark about how long you would be?
No, but what I said to Abdul yesterday, because he did his icebreaker speech, which is when you do your very first speech in a Toastmaster Club yesterday. And in the beginning, he was trying to eye contact, and I think it's because I had told him to on day one. But he was flickering with his eyes. He even stole my opening line and say, imagine a library. Because it was about books and philosophy. It was a great speech. Well done. Very well done. But he was like, imagine you're in a library and there's a lot of books. Can you see my eyes are going out, but they're going around all the time, which means I don't actually see anyone. And then it just makes you look nervous and look indecisive, like you don't know where to look. So either you focus somewhere because you feel comfortable. If I'm talking about big things, like if we are going to save the planet, if we're going to save the earth, then I don't really want to necessarily talk to people. Then I want to look out in the distance and into the future and stuff like that. So sometimes you just look somewhere and then decide that's where I'm going to look. If you want eye contact just long enough to make sure that you've seen them and register, yes, they're looking back. Okay, nice to meet you. Then we can move on. So no, there isn't a benchmark, because it's a matter of connection. Do they look back? Do you connect? Do you say, hello, nice to meet you? And then if you do, then don't mind if I move on. Let's talk later. Let's have lunch. Yeah? Again, it's always about connection. It's always about, are they listening? Yeah? Good. Then we can move on. Yeah? Good. So,